Is why are you searching for, why you moved to another business model? What motivated you? And secondly, because it's a crowd-funded platform, there will be possibly not that professional journalists who haven't, who may lie about their, evidence, information, and they could, potentially damage your, not only your company, the byline, but also the public interest.
Could you repeat it, sir?
Okay, so basically, Byline is a crowd-funded platform, and you get articles from the crowd, not necessarily professional journalists, and they are posting articles, submitting articles to on your platform, mainly or partly looking for money. Get their stories funded, but not necessarily, their stories are valid. It could be like, personal attack, or as Chongwan said, attacking another company. So how do you screen, those unethical, less ethical, or not very valuable articles?
Got it. Onto the first question, I think basically when I first started Byline, I thought it could be a solution to all the problems I mentioned. But I realized the limitation of the model, first of all, because when I first started it, I thought, if I could get a million niche journalism topics, and I can always get 100,000 really passionate readers and match it with one niche topic, and get all sorts of journalism funded. But what I realized is the only way that could happen is if people come onto our front page, the distribution happens, and people read news on our website very regularly. But it's very, and then from then on, you personally recommend the articles that you like to read and you fund. But that's very hard because of what I mentioned: Facebook, Twitter, and all these new platforms. And secondly, I realized it's not really scalable beyond investigative journalism. So I couldn't fund like normal journalism at all. It was just something like a Samsung scandal we want to fund, and there's like a huge money going into that. A big investigative story gets funded very well. But besides that, it's really hard to fund others, crowdfund other sorts of journalism. So maybe if this is going to be what Byline is ultimately, I think maybe I'm not the right person to run this company. So that was the first. Secondly, about your quality control question. At the moment, it's an invitation-only platform, so the journalists get vetted by our curators, but what gets decided to be printed on our, and not printed, but be published on our website is decided by the public. So we screen the people, but it's like, so you guys, let's say there's a journalism company and we hire 100 journalists company, but basically those 100 journalists, their projects are decided by the crowd. So that's how it is working. So we do screen journalists, but if you want to scale, we need to make some kind of a vetting kind of committee to make this work in a bigger scale. So that's what we're doing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the answer. Any questions, Ian and Gavin?
Just respond to that question on crowdfunding news. We have seen examples. So I'll just respond on that point about crowdfunded news. We have seen examples in Europe and also in the US. We had Andrew Sullivan with The Dish. He was able to attract the 100,000 subscribers he needed to put together the website and build a basis. But I think it's difficult. It needs to be a niche, and maybe it needs to have journalists who already have a following established from working in traditional media to have that momentum to start that from scratch, or on a topic where there isn't a wide interest. Maybe it's difficult to attract the funding.
Yes, so I agree with everything that you said, but what was your question?
That was just responding to.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah. So just like you said, I think crowdfundable journalists is very limited. So Andrew Sullivan, and we had Andrew Sullivan is one, but there are a lot of these star journalists who can be funded, or intellectuals that can be funded. But I had this Korean academic who's very famous, Hajin Chang. Even he wasn't able to get funded fully on our platform. So it's a big challenge even for star intellectuals, star journalists. So There are definite limitations in the model, but I mean, for investigative journalism, I think it definitely works very powerfully. Okay.
It's a general alternative solution to the problems, but it's a targeted venue
Yeah.
alternative.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say it's a solution to all the problems I mentioned, but it can be one of the solutions to one of the problems that you see, and then could be a fix for investigative journalism. Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, Bruce, you'll be the last one after Gavin.
I had a question about sort of alternative funding sources, such as we mentioned like newspapers holding a lot of large-scale conferences and events to fund their publications. And it's not just a Korean phenomenon. I mean, the New York Times runs global conferences with like Susie Orman giving real estate advice. And like Time Magazine has the Time 100 Gala and Black Culture Festival every year in Louisiana. And these are big money-making sources. And even Bloomberg makes a lot of money selling its terminals to companies, and then I guess that's sort of like crowdfunding. You're getting money from another company's another source, and then you're funding your journalism. So I'm wondering if you could discuss the ethics of that, sort of planning large-scale events, having other businesses fund your journalism, because it's already a phenomenon in Western publications too.
Jongwan, can you answer the question?
한국 언론사들이 하는 많은 그 컨퍼런스가 그 호텔 그랜드볼로 빌려가지고 이렇게 어마어마하게 돈을 쓰면서 하죠. 그 참가비도 없이 행사를 합니다. 행사를 하는데
So a lot of Korean media companies use grand ballrooms in major hotels in Korea, free, without an attendance fee, without an admission fee, and this attracts a lot of money for this media company.
하루 빌리는데 거의 1,000만 원씩 하죠. 그런 행사장이.
About $10,000, $10,000 won.
It costs about $10,000 to rent a hotel a day.
1,000만 원. 그리고 참가자들은 대부분 다 기업 홍보 담당자들입니다.
And the participants are usually the PR
사람들이
agents.
후원을 하고 참석을 하는 거죠.
So they attend as sponsors for the event.
그렇지만 저는 그 컨퍼런스도 어떤 이 미디어의 연장이라고 생각합니다.
However, I believe that the conferences are an extension of media.
미디어원들이 작년에 했던 그 저널리즘의 미래라는 컨퍼런스의 경우는 800명이 20만 원씩 내고 참석을 했습니다.
There was about 800 people attending a media conference called The Future of Media, and they paid about $200 for.
참석자 대부분이 학생이고 동료 기자들이고 그리고 언론 관련의 일을 하는 우사자들이 참석을 했는데.
People that attended were students, journalism students, and currently working reporters.
그러니까 그것만으로 한 1억 정도 수익을 벌였죠. 순수익을.
They made about $100,000 out of that event.
그래서 그런 여전히 컨퍼런스나 포럼이 어떤 언론사 하나의 중요한 수익 모델이 될 수 있을 거라고 생각하는데.
So I believe that conferences could be a good business model for media companies.
결국 이제 팔릴 만한 콘텐츠를 이 교육사업과 연결시키는 게 굉장히 중요하겠죠.
Also, it would be profitable to create profitable content and link it to educational purposes.
Okay, Bruce, last question.
Push it up there. This is for Sangyeon. What do you see as far as the future, or let me rephrase that. What is the future for news apps, considering you mentioned that a lot of the traffic is being driven by social media, and if you have a well-formatted website, I guess, for your smartphone, is there any use for a news application if you're outside the news industry?
To be honest, I'm quite skeptical because let's say you go to Facebook, you're the news you get presented, or socially curated by your friends, and also you get a whole plethora of news sources, right? And they have a very good user experience and user interface team to make the best product and recommend and personalize the best content. And if you, it may be better to just focus on how you maximize the clicks and distribution on those platforms rather than trying to create a curve out your new distribution app, because it's very hard to make people. I mean, so basically, essentially, when you're doing that, you're competing with Facebook and Twitter. I want you to click my news tab instead of going to that platform. So when you have limited resources as a news company, whether you want to put their money in, I'm not entirely sure. I'm quite skeptical. But also, secondly, maybe the Quartz app, I'm not sure how well it's doing, but it's a very innovative format. It's a kind of an AI-powered kind of bot, right? Chat robot. But I don't know how it's doing, but if it's like totally innovative like that, maybe it's worth exploring. But at this moment, I think I'd rather try to figure out, given the algorithm of Facebook, the algorithm of Twitter, how do we maximize the distribution out there, rather than creating my own app. And just to actually go back on the kind of the conference business model, I think if you look at it very cynically, journalism has been cross-funded for decades, not even centuries. You know, whether advertising, whether conference, and you know, a very interesting thing that a Korean TV producer told me. The only reason how we can have all this investigative journalism documentaries or the news programs is because we have entertainment shows, and entertainment cross-subsidizes journalism. And BuzzFeed actually started from cat photos, and that's their entertainment. Because they have a strong entertainment vertical, they can do journalism. And even Bloomberg, the terminal is their main business model, and journalism is not no one directly funds journalism. So maybe, I mean, we can, rather than trying to directly fund journalism, maybe we can, always news companies can find different ways, from conferences, to Bloomberg terminals, to entertainment, which is much more lucrative, to cross-fund journalism, which gives them influence. And you know, and more cynically, Washington Post journalism got radically better after Jeff Bezos bought the company because they have money, right? Maybe, you know, the old philanthropy model of journalism, like people like Jeff Bezos funding Washington Post, Piano Media funding First Media, which has Glenn Greenwald, can be also a solution. So there are, I think, many ways to think about it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, great speakers, Lee Jung-wan, Lee Seung-yoon, and Stella Kim. Let's give them a big round of applause.